All right, everyone, welcome in. We're diving deep today, really going deep. Really going deep into a pivotal moment, really a pivotal century for Okinawa.
Absolutely.
14th century.
Yeah.
When the island kingdom really begins this long and fascinating, I would say, dance with China's tribute system.
It's a fascinating period.
It is fascinating. So we've got some absolutely amazing sources for this one.
Really good stuff.
All about how this relationship took shape.
Yeah, it's an era, I think, of ambitious rulers.
Yeah.
Shifting power dynamics.
For sure. And rituals.
Oh, yeah, some really interesting diplomatic rituals we're going to unpack.
Absolutely.
Really interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna get into how a leader named Satto basically positions Okinawa in this really complex geopolitical landscape.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a smart guy.
He was ahead of his time, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're going to uncover, I think, some really surprising ways that Okinawa managed to actually benefit from this relationship for centuries.
Yeah, it wasn't just a one-way street.
Right.
It was much more nuanced than that.
Okay.
And I think that's what's so fascinating about it.
Okay, so this wasn't just like some small island kingdom making a deal with like the big empire over there.
Yeah.
This is really about understanding how big this tribute system was.
It's huge. This is all of East Asia we're talking about here.
Yeah.
The impact is massive.
Okay.
This is the world system at this time.
So let's start with this main character, Satto.
Okay.
He wasn't just any ruler.
No, not at all.
He did things a little differently, it sounds like.
He was ambitious. He was strategic.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, he's the one who unifies the Chuzan Kingdom,
Right.
which is the central part of Okinawa.
Okay.
So he's kind of the big guy.
Yeah, and this is a time of massive upheaval, too, right?
Huge upheaval.
Like the Mongol Empire, which had been this like dominant force,
The biggest.
gone.
Gone.
And this new power is coming out, the Ming Dynasty in China.
Exactly. And they want to show everyone who's boss now.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to say the Ming Dynasty is all about reasserting that dominance.
Absolutely.
And the tribute system
It's their tool.
is part of that.
It is. It's a big part of it.
It's all about sending these envoys with gifts and paying homage.
Yeah, it's like a big dance,
Yeah.
but it sends a really powerful message.
Like we're in charge.
Exactly. You want to be on our good side.
So where does Okinawa fit into all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're a relatively small island kingdom.
Right. It's a little nerve-wracking.
It seems like a vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah, but this is where Satto, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He sees the writing on the wall.
Okay.
He realizes China is the new power on the block.
Yeah.
And aligning with them.
Better be their friend.
Exactly.
He's their enemy.
Exactly. He's a pragmatist.
Okay, so this is like a classic, if you can't beat them, join them.
Kind of. Yeah, you could say that.
But what did it actually mean for Okinawa? Was it just like a symbolic thing?
No.
Or were there real benefits?
This is about survival.
Okay.
This is about their future.
So Sato's thinking long-term here.
Yeah, he's playing chess, not checkers.
Okay, so it wasn't just about like bowing down to the emperor.
Right.
There were some real tangible things they got out of this.
Exactly. Trade protection. This is huge for a kingdom like Okinawa with limited resources.
Right, because they don't have the farms, they don't have this whatever.
Exactly. They're limited on space. They're limited on resources.
So they needed someone.
Well, need the leg up.
They need an in.
And they found it with the Ming.
Okay, so basically he secures these trade routes and the potential for protection.
Exactly. He's securing their future.
By becoming a tributary state to China in 1372.
1372, that's the year.
That's a big year.
Huge year for Okinawa.
Okay, so this one decision sets the stage for centuries of Okinawan history.
I know, it's amazing, right?
It's incredible to think about that.
It really is.
It's a ripple effect.
And that is just the beginning of the story.
Oh, we're just getting started.
We're going to get into
the good stuff. All the inner workings of this tribute system and the challenges and how they managed to survive and thrive.
Yeah, they're more than survive. They thrive.
So stick with us. We are back and we are diving even deeper into 14th century Okinawa.
That's right.
And their really interesting relationship with the Ming Dynasty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so last time we left off with Satto. He's made this big decision.
Big decision.
Pledging Okinawa as a tributary state to China.
Yeah.
500 years, though.
I know, it's a long time.
That is a really long time.
Yeah.
How do you keep that going?
Well, it really speaks to their diplomatic skills.
Okay.
They played this really careful balancing act.
I bet.
For centuries. But let me tell you, it wasn't always easy.
Okay.
Because this tribute system, yes, it was beneficial.
All right.
But it came with a lot of strings attached.
Like what? Give me an example. What do they have to do to like keep the Ming court happy.
Well, for starters, imagine you're an envoy from Okinawa.
Okay.
You've sailed all the way across the sea.
Yeah.
And now you're standing there before the emperor.
Okay.
And you have to perform the kowtow.
Yeah. The 9 prostrations. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's not just like a casual bow.
Right.
This is a whole thing.
I bet it was pretty intense to watch.
Oh, absolutely. It was a spectacle.
Yeah.
But it was also deeply significant to the Chinese.
Yeah.
This ritual, it was about their worldview.
Oh.
It was about putting China
right at the center.
literally at the center.
Okay, so everyone knows their place.
Exactly.
Okay, so Okinawa's doing the kowtow. They're sending these gifts. They're playing the game.
Yeah.
What are they getting out of it besides, not making the emperor mad?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The tribute itself was like the price of admission
Okay.
to get to the main event.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Trade.
Yeah.
Okinawa was very smart.
Okay.
They used this whole act of submission
Yeah.
to make money.
Okay, so they're turning diplomacy into a business deal.
Yeah.
Basically, they weren't just bringing tribute.
Right.
They were bringing goods to sell.
Oh,
So they're making a profit
smart.
from the act of submission itself.
Yeah, because they had to bring something.
Exactly.
And they're like, well, if we're going to bring it, we're going to sell it.
Exactly. And remember, they don't have a lot of resources back home.
Okay.
So they had to get creative.
How so?
Well, they were allowed to present gifts from other places
Oh, interesting.
as tribute.
Okay.
So they would bring in goods
Okay.
from Southeast Asia,
Okay.
spices, exotic woods, luxury items.
They're going all over.
They're all over the place.
And then bringing it to China to sell.
Exactly.
Wow.
They're cutting out the middleman.
That is really smart.
They're making themselves essential.
Okay, and this is where that whole barbarian thing comes in, right?
Yes, the barbarian lady.
Because, I mean, that couldn't have been a compliment.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
It actually worked in their favor.
Really?
Because they weren't seen as a direct threat.
Okay.
They had more freedom
Oh, interesting.
within the system.
So being called a barbarian actually gave them a competitive edge.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
They used that outsider status to their advantage.
That's incredible. Talk about turning a disadvantage into an opportunity.
They were masters of it.
It really makes you rethink that whole idea of like what's a good thing and what's a bad thing.
Perspective is everything.
It really is. And Okinawa was playing the long game here.
Oh, absolutely. They were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
And they understood that sometimes you have to get creative to succeed.
You have to adapt. You have to be flexible.
Exactly. But we can't forget about China here.
Right?
They weren't just being generous.
No, China had its own motivations.
Of course. What were they getting out of this whole deal?
Well, it's about more than just economics. For
Yeah.
China, this was about image.
Oh, okay.
It was about sending a message.
So less about the actual stuff and more about what it meant for them to be getting all this stuff.
Exactly. Remember,
Mhm.
they've got to rebuild their reputation.
After the Mongols.
Exactly.
Right.
They need to show everyone who's in charge.
Yeah.
And the tribute system,
Yeah.
it's the perfect way to do that.
Right, because everyone's coming to them and bowing down and giving them gifts.
It's a grand display of power.
But without having to, like, actually fight anyone.
Exactly.
It's pretty smart when you think about it.
It's very effective.
So each one of these things, the kowtow, the gifts, it all reinforces this idea of China being at the top.
The Middle Kingdom.
Right, the center of the universe.
It's all about affirming their place in the world.
Okay, so it's about power, but it's also about image.
Image is power.
But I'm sure there were some more practical benefits too,
And
right?
of course.
Okay, so beyond the image, beyond this like projection of power,
Right.
what were they actually getting?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
All these envoys coming from all over. They're not just bringing gifts.
Yeah.
They're bringing information.
Oh, that's a good point.
They're expected to report back.
On what's happening back home.
Exactly. What's going on in their kingdoms, what they saw in their travels.
So the Ming court basically has this like built-in intelligence network
Exactly. It's like a free intelligence service.
disguised as cultural exchange.
Nobody suspects the gift givers.
That's amazing. And they're getting all this info without having to send their own people out.
Saves them time, saves them money.
It's brilliant.
It was a pretty sweet deal.
I mean, I guess it's good for everyone involved.
Well, almost everyone.
Right. I mean, if you're not super keen on having your affairs reported back to the Ming court, maybe not so much.
You know, there's always a flip side.
That's true. That's very true. But Okinawa managed to make this whole thing work for them. I mean, they kept those trade routes going, kept the Ming court happy, even adopted some elements of Chinese culture along the way.
Yeah, and that's another fascinating part of this whole story. The cultural exchange. You've got Okinawan sailors, merchants, they're living in Chinese port cities, they're soaking up all these new ideas, different ways of life.
Yeah, and that stuff always filters back home.
Exactly, it's inevitable. And it leads to this really interesting blending of cultures.
It's not just about the silks and the spices being traded. It's about the ideas, the customs, the ways of life that are being exchanged.
Right, and that has a lasting impact. You see the influence of China on Okinawan culture everywhere. Art, architecture, even the way they govern themselves. It's all connected back to this relationship that started with the tribute system.
So much more than just a simple exchange of goods.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about all the other ways that cultures influence each other. Just fascinating.
And it all goes back to that one decision made by Satto back in the 14th century.
It's incredible. It's like this one decision created a ripple effect that shaped an entire culture for centuries.
History is full of these kinds of stories. It's all about connecting the dots, understanding the choices that people made, and how those choices continue to shape the world we live in today.
And that's what I love about these deep dives. We get to uncover those hidden connections, those unexpected turns that history takes.
Exactly. It's like we're time travelers, piecing together the past.
I love it. Well, sadly, our journey back to 14th century Okinawa has to come to an end for now.
For now.
But we're going to keep exploring these fascinating stories, and we hope you'll come along with us. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the past.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.